we're gonna start with. It's sad, but I want to make this fun a little bit because I want to do the good thing about it. An iconic voice man passed this week. One Kevin Conroy, who for many of us literally he's our Batman. He is our Batman, and what I want to do now is I want to take some time for however long it takes because a lot of other shows either just talk about it for a minute, or maybe they got sad about it, or this and that. I want to have fun memory time right now, so I want to go around the panel, and I want you guys to share with me your feelings on Kevin Conroy, what he meant to you as Batman. So, Dre, you are one of the few this week in our panel that did the video on it. I held off because I knew I was going to do it today. So you said your piece there, but talk to us again, since you're a DC guy. When we were joking around last week, you're like, we're joking about Superman and Batman. So you said Batman, I'm Batman over Superman. So Batman is your dude. He's your boy. So how did you feel when you heard the news? I'll just say, when I saw it, I had been playing Medieval Dynasty for like 3 hours, and I popped my head up, and I'm taking Lay of the Land, and I'm looking, and suddenly I see my instant mark was no. That was the sadness hit me. So Dre, why don't you share with us your thoughts on how you felt when it happened, and then just what did Kevin Conroy mean to you as Batman?
Yeah, so like you, I was I think I was doing some work or something. I was actually in the midst of writing. I was in the midst of writing, and then I get an alert that Kevin Conroy had passed away. At first I thought it was a joke. I'm like who's screwing around? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like who? This celebrity, whatever. I'm like whatever. And I ignored it. But then I looked again, and then there was another different news outlet that said he had passed away. I said, this isn't real. I'm like, it's. I'm like, I had the taste of denial.
Really?
Yeah, I had a taste of denial. I'm like, come on. Come on. It can't be true. I'm like, it can't be true. And the reason why I felt that way is because not only was he the voice of a generation for Batman, without Kevin Conroy, I don't have a career.
Really?
I don't have a career. I won't be motivated. I don't get motivated to get into voice acting. I don't get motivated to continue to write and think that my writing is any good. There was one con I'd went to, and I was waiting in line. I was hoping I'd get to him, but he ended up closing down. But legitimately, everybody that got to speak with him, everybody said the same thing, that he is the nicest person you can ever.
That's what I'm hearing. That no one has a bad word to say about him.
Not one person. And he was like one of the most humble people you can meet. There though he is like, he's Batman. Let's call it like it is. He's Batman. It's not like he's like that. He is.
I'm on the record. I've said that ever since this channel started. There are maybe some of them are older ones gone, but I've been saying that for the longest time. He is my Batman.
Yep, he is. And I don't think that's up for any debate. People can say they're live action ones, whatever. I don't care. He is Batman. And to me, he's always been and always will be Batman. And I had a moment. It took me a minute to actually get my thoughts together before I even made my video on it, because I was like, I have to try to be as cool and calm as collective as I possibly can. Because usually celebrity deaths don't affect me. Usually they don't. 9 times out of 10. But Kevin Conroy, not only was he a great celebrity, he was a great person. And to have a great person die suddenly, it hurts. It hurts a lot. But instead of sulking, I decided to, do a tribute to him in the best way I knew possible. And that was to kick back and play some Arkham City. And nice. I had a great time. A lot of people jumped in on the chat, talking about their feelings about him, what he meant to them as far as fandom is concerned. Yesterday I started a little mini marathon. I was watching the animated movies. I started off with Batman, The Mystery of the Batwoman. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that one. It was
That's
kind
not.
of low.
I stopped watching those movies after Sub-Zero.
Okay. Oh, well, you owe yourself. You owe yourself that one.
Okay.
Batman, Mystery of the Batwoman. Thing dropped in like 2003. It's a good one. It's a really
Okay.
really good watch. Kevin Conroy is peak Kevin Conroy in that joint. You know, I mean, it's a great movie. Then I just started watching Batman the animated series, and just I mean, this is in my opinion, this is the best way to honor his memory, to
Yeah.
celebrate his life, celebrate his accomplishments, celebrate what he created, what he brought to life, and without him, without Kevin Conroy, we don't get all the animated stuff we have
No, we
today.
don't. I'm definitely gonna.
It's not even. It's not up for debate. It's
When it
what
gets
it
to my
is.
turn, I'm
Yeah,
gonna wax poetic on
yeah.
that
And
end.
so, I'm not gonna take up all the time, but
No, take as much time as you want
I
to.
mean, but
We're gonna bounce around on this.
I'm
Don't worry.
still deeply hurt by it.
Mhm.
But I'm blessed to have been around at peak Kevin Conroy time.
Mhm.
To be around when he's creating all these great things, all these great memories. A lot of the fun times I've had is around this man, quite frankly. I can't read. I have a whole shelf filled with Batman comics. Every panel I read that has Batman in it, I hear Kevin Conroy's voice in my head.
Yeah.
That's where it's always going to be. So his legacy is going to go on to the end of time, and I'm still deeply grieved. I'm deeply sorry for his family, but to have the opportunity to have lived while this great man was at the peak of his creative juices, for that I feel blessed.
Yeah. Grump. I mean, we know you're a comic guy too. How are you doing with the Conroy passing?
I mean, the voice was epic. There's no doubt about that. But I've never really gotten to most of the stuff that he actually did, the
Okay.
voice stuff.
Okay.
I do have some of his games stacked in my Steam file somewhere because I pretty much have every game at this point. If it's ever been on sale, I have bought it at least once. Some of them twice by accident.
All right.
Steam sales, man, them things are deadly.
Got it. See, unfortunately, I'm locked into genres that I'm only interested in, so I'm not just going to buy everything I see. All right, so it's a limited exposure then. Okay, I understand that.
I would start playing one of them, but I'm just getting to the point where my old ass is figuring out the controls for Zelda. So I don't need to add some more controls.
Yeah, don't finish games, then start it. All right, yeah. All right. So your exposure is limited. Okay. Jed, do you have anything, any memories or connection to what Kevin Conroy meant as Batman?
Not a substantial amount. I never watched the animated series, primarily from the Arkham trilogy, which is fantastic. I personally believe that's peak Batman outside of comic books. Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, I think, is the best Batman's ever been in what I've seen of animation, movies, everything. And so I really, really enjoyed his Batman. I believe it is the best as well for my limited exposure. But unfortunately, the first time I knew what he looked like, the first time I saw him was in Batwoman. Yeah. It's the first time I found out. Yeah. But I imagine if like Tom Baker ever died, I'd be in a very similar situation. So I have a lot of
very similar thing
because what people are going through.
It's definitely before your time, Batman the Animated Series, and then the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm verse. And everything had spawned out of that. So again, yeah, I'm sure if you got into it, you would understand it. So
yeah. Do we lose him? Well, it's a great face, Dermy. Grab that face.
Shit, what's going on? Are we back? All right,
you're back.
Yeah, so I thought it was mine. It ain't me.
No, we all rolled out there for a second. We all got circles of death for a second. No, but you know the Arkham games at least, and you know when I didn't play the Arkham games because I was never interested in actually playing them. But when I heard that he was doing the voice work, I'm like, oh, it's going to be epic for everybody who's playing it because having Conroy's voice in there, it's like you're playing the animated series then, and that would be something special. So, Dragon Lady, what are your thoughts on this then?
I got into DC around about 2004, 2005, but I never actually watched Batman the Animated Series until about probably 5 odd years ago, when I finally managed to get my hands on it. Absolutely, thoroughly loved every minute of it. And my reaction on Friday was very similar to Dre's. It was like, at first I thought, this has to be a joke. I was actually doing my evening meal at the time when it happened. I thought, is there something wrong with YouTube? And an hour later, and half an hour later, got on again, and then
Yeah.
And it was sad, really, because I'd only just been watching an episode of Batman the Animated Series last week, coincidentally enough. And if I thought about it last night, I mean, Friday night, I probably might have watched another episode. I was doing other stuff. So I ended up playing Injustice 2 yesterday. He was Batman on Injustice 2 and Injustice 1. Never played the Arkham Asylum games. I've heard they're really good. I've been trying to get them, but I've heard the first one is, download it or something. And
they're hardcore. Those games are hardcore.
Yeah.
But so you're feeling it too, then. I mean, because even though it's recent, you're getting into it. It's emotional.
Yeah, I have very vague memories of that being on TV, but I was not into comics at the time. I was only a toddler and probably wouldn't have been my thing at the time anyway. So when that was on, when that originally aired 30 odd years ago.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's my turn now, I guess. This is a deep cut. Like for Dre, it's a deep cut because I was there when the animated series premiere. This is 1992. We are at the height of the Tim Burton Batman stuff. And I mean, of course, I knew who Batman was, but my experience with that was only a little bit of comics, but because I hadn't really read a lot of Batman comics, but I'd watched all of the 60 series, Batman 89, Batman Returns. I was fully versed. I knew what everything was, but I didn't realize how surface level my knowledge was. And then 1992, the animated series premieres Fox in the afternoon when they still showed cartoons in the afternoon when you got home. And this premiered out of nowhere. And it had the style of what Burton had done. And it's using the same riff. Da-da-da-da-da. It's using the same music. And you realize, wow. And you watch it and I realize, wow. I'm blown away by the first episode. And I realized I know nothing really about Batman. I knew nothing about Dick Grayson. I knew nothing about anything. So for me, Batman the Animated Series was my doorway into Batman knowledge. It told me everything in such a great and detailed and colorful way that that's why I say Kevin Conroy is my Batman, because I had not been invested in Batman to that point, but that got me invested. That's where I got all the knowledge and everything. And to watch all these great stories be told through his epic portrayal. I mean, I think back to episodes. I mean, there's this one episode, I believe it might be season 1 or season 2. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched the whole thing, and that's going to change very soon. But it's one episode where I believe it was a clone robot. They had been cloning robots, and he thinks he can be a better Batman. At one point, Batman and the clone robot Batman, they're fighting in the Batcave, and Bruce figures out, and that was so great at the animated series, is you had both action Batman and detective Batman. And in this one episode, he defeats the clone bot by making him do the one thing Bruce would never do, and that is take a life. And it causes such an emotional feedback in the clone robot, and Conroy's delivery of the robot who thinks he's a better Bruce, but then reacting as Bruce would, the emotional impact of that, it has stuck with me to this day, that episode. That's how powerful it was. And you get the power every single time and everything. You get the imagery, and it's just, he was Batman, that voice. And I didn't know what he looked like. All I knew was that he was the voice. And then it goes on, and you realize, for me then, it spawns the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm verse. And you get the Adventures of Superman. Then they start doing team ups, and then you get the advance to the next level shows, and then you get to Justice League. But of course, in between that, like we mentioned before, somebody mentioned in the chat, you get, in my opinion, now, we are on the record of saying this before in a previous show. I know it's somewhere out there. Mask of the Phantasm, greatest Batman movie ever. When I went to see that in the theater, we were all so pumped to go see in a theater, and it's not even live action, and it was so good, so powerful, everything that happened in that, so awesome. And then you understand how Kevin Conroy truly played all versions of Bruce Wayne Batman. We had him, of course. What was great about the anime series, that's Batman in his prime. None of this Batman Begins bullshit. None of this year 1, year 2 bullshit. This is Batman in his prime, facing everybody. You get Ra's al Ghul in there, in that arc. When I didn't know who Ra's al Ghul was at the time. I'm like, oh shit, this is crazy. Lazarus Pit, what's going on here? Whoa, all this awesome shit. And then you get all the way to Mask of Phantasm, but then you get Justice League. But then in between Justice League, at the same time, you get Batman Beyond, and you get Old Man Bruce. His Old Man Bruce is just as good. There's an episode in Justice League Unlimited. It's the time travel episode where Batman and John are stuck traveling through time. They're the only ones being unaffected by it. And at one point, it's an amalgamation of everything. And you've got Terry McGinnis, Old Man Bruce, and young Batman and Jon Stewart there. And at one point, young Batman Bruce, middle-aged Bruce, he's doing his thing, and he's trying to interrogate a guy, and old Bruce just walks up and says, "Was I ever this green?" In that, was I ever this green? It's like, oh, and he just, it's Kevin Conroy playing alongside Kevin Conroy, but it's just literally, it is two different characters, and that's the brilliance of his performance there. It's so damn cool that he could pull it off like that, and that is why he is Batman, and that's why it's important to me, because I would not have my knowledge, I would not have my interest in DC without Kevin Conroy and Batman the Animated Series. I wouldn't know what I know. I wouldn't have done the research, all this stuff. I wouldn't know anything. I would without that, I wouldn't have it, and that's why I've been putting this off for years. Because I'll get it this time. This Christmas, I am getting the animated series complete, and I'm getting Mask of the Phantasm. I'm getting it. I've been putting it off for years. It's like, I'll get it later. I mean, I got Justice League. I got my complete Justice League. I'm usually, if I need my fix, I get it through that. But now it's got to happen. It's got to happen, and it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks when we get our happy sale time of year. That's how important this is, and it opens eyes. It opens doors. And that's why it's iconic. And that's why when it happened, I was sad. I mean, I wasn't breakdown sad, but I was sad and bummed out, which was why it was important to, I felt on Thursdays, okay, definitely want a game tonight because we want to have some fun. I mean, I had to schedule a game for Star Wars, so I couldn't fire up anything else. I didn't have those games anyway. I'm still not really interested in playing the Arkham games, but because to me, I want to watch. I don't want to, that's the thing. I never actually wanted to be Batman. I just want to watch Batman, if that makes any sense. I want to watch him be badass, not necessarily be him.
Yeah, no, I get that, Adam. But if there's ever a game that that like, I think Batman Arkham City is one of the best put together games in the last 20 years. It is top notch. Like, Arkham Asylum is very good. Make no mistake, Arkham Asylum is very good. But Arkham City story, the detective work, the combat system, like the characters, the side quests, like everything has weight to it. Everything feels great. Like, they got a whole lot of the original voice cast to come back. Of course, Kevin Conroy, obviously. It is one of the greatest games. It's on my Mount Rushmore of games. It's on my Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, that's
Again.
I know everybody says that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest disappointments right now is that with the passing of Mr. Conroy, my dreams of the resuscitation of the Paul Dini Bruce Timm verse are gone forever now.
Yeah, I agree.
I always thought, can we get one more go? Can we get one more, just like one more Batman Superman stuff? But no, now remember, he did do other stuff. Like there's a couple of Batman Superman team up movies that are outside that where he and God, I can't remember his name. The guy who does the voice of Superman. I used to know
Tim Daly?
Yeah, they did a couple more movies outside where they did some team ups with that were outside that. But every other version, Batman cartoon show, it just never had the same impact.
You are correct,
Like
sir.
The Batman or Batman Brave and the Bold, all of it was all lesser.
And I agree, and that's how you know the impact that this man had in his voice work alone. Every time a Batman is on screen and it's not his voice, you immediately
You're
compare
down.
it to his.
Yeah, when The Batman came out, that cartoon,
The animated, the 3D one,
the regular one. It was in the early odds.
Oh, yes.
When they reboot, it was like a younger version of Bruce, like
Yes,
year 2,
yes.
year 3, shit like that, and they were clearly trying to call back to the animated series. But even with whoever portrayed the Joker was clearly mirroring Mark Hamill's Joker in that when they all the way through, but still, it wasn't. It was several levels below.
Agreed.
Every time, like you said, whenever you hear an animated Batman and it's not him, even the New 52 era of DC animated movies, which were acceptable,
Yes.
it wasn't him and it wasn't as good. And they put a lot of Batman product out during those New 52 animated movie era. They put a lot of that was like most of the I would say a good 40% of those movies were Batman movies. And it started with that one, like all the like Bad Blood, all that stuff. And they were good movies. They were all good movies. Court of Owls, Batman versus Robin, they're all good, leading into the Justice League movies, War and Fate Lamb. Whatever, but they were good. But it's still, every time I watch it, I'm thinking, it's not Kevin Conroy. I'm not enjoying it as much. I think I'll go watch some Justice League instead. And that's it. So rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. You were impactful on so many of us. And his final that video that everybody's playing, where he gave the shout out to the person who had somebody who passed, it's powerful, and it's giving a lot of people a lot of closure on this. A lot of people find a way to lessen the emotional impact it's having in terms of they're able to find a way to cope with it in a good way, not the copium stuff we make fun of all the time, but they're learning to manage their feelings. So to everybody out there, go watch some Batman and go watch some Kevin Conroy Batman if you have it. Go play some if that's your option as well, whether it be TAS, whether it be Justice League or one of the movies or anything. Go watch it. Be happy that we have it. Be happy that we got 30 years of fantastic Batman content from one man, Kevin Conroy. My Batman, your Batman forever. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me at therentnerd@gmail.com. That email's for channel business only, so I check it on a daily basis. Also, you can find me at the Geeks and Gamers forums under @ROAS, and you can find me at Rumble and Odyssey, The Renaissance Nerd. Thank you again. See you next time.